The world will know you as pop stars, but you will be much more than that.
Netflix calls K-pop Demon Hunters their own Frozen. That's cool, but the real story is why it works. Here are 112 story and craft details you probably missed that made it blow up. Now, let's get into it.
It's time.
Number 1. The project nearly died more than once, and the idea that kept it alive was first sketched 9 years ago. And it wasn't K-pop. We'll reveal what it was when it matters. Number 2. After some challenges, the release skipped theaters and went straight to Netflix with Sony, similar to Mitchell's vs. the Machines, Vivo and Wish Dragon. Was this a smart move for reach, or would a theatrical window have built a different kind of momentum? Drop your take in the comments. Number 3. The film was created by Maggie Kang, a Korean-Canadian artist who started as a storyboard artist on films like the Lego Ninjago movie and Minions. K-pop Demon Hunters marks her debut as a director, and I think she nailed it. Number 4. Maggie co-directed the movie with Chris Applehands, a visual development artist on Coraline and Fantastic Mr. Fox, who also directed Wish Dragon. Chris had planned to take a break after Wish Dragon, but when he heard Maggie's pitch, he couldn't resist joining the project. Number 5. At first, Maggie set out to make a story focusing on its mythology and demonology. Funny enough, the last element added to the film was K-pop. Number 6. Maggie describes K-pop Demon Hunters as her love letter to K-pop and her Korean roots. It's the film I would want to see as a lifelong fan. Number 7. They originally pitched the project to Sony Pictures Animation, but Sony felt that maybe an all-Asian story was a financial risk, enlisting K-pop songwriter EJ to create demo songs that, paired with storyboards and artwork, served as a proof of concept that convinced Netflix to finance the project. Number 8. EJ later became the singing voice of Rumi. Number 9. The creators worked on a massive Miro board filled with all kinds of references: K-pop, anime, K-dramas, editorial photography, and even antique art. Let's watch this quick clip from our interview with Maggie Kang, where she reveals why she thinks they started to feel like they were sharing a brain. Before that, I want to introduce myself real quick. I'm Pietro, an Italian writer and producer, and on this channel we help you become a better storyteller and succeed in the animation industry with the creators behind the films you love.
For the fans!
Whether you're a fan of K-pop Demon Hunters or a storyteller, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any new videos, and it really helps my team.
Chris and I are not labeled as writing partners technically, but we were writing partners throughout the whole process. We would always have 3 to 5 scenes that were okay, these are the next things going into production. These have to get ready by an X amount of time. And we kind of categorized them and prioritized. We would split the work. So he would take half the scenes and I would take the other half, and we would do our first initial pass. We swap, do a pass over it. If we needed to meet and talk about big changes, then we would do that. So it was that kind of a process for us.
Genius! Number 10. To ensure authenticity to the Korean culture, the team worked closely with Professor Mijung Mimi Kim as a cultural advisor. I hope I pronounced her name correctly. Number 11. K-pop Demon Hunters was not only written to be a true family movie. I mean, it's fun and flashy for kids, but it also has deep adult themes. So it won't confuse a younger audience, but will click with adults too. Number 12. Visually, the filmmakers avoided that 2D and 3D look that made Spider-Verse so unique, but instead they went full CG and borrowed some design elements from anime, particularly in the faces, which at times look almost fully 2D. Yeah! 13. The movie starts in a world where singers use music to fight demons and build a magical shield called
The Honmun.
This is explained with voiceover. Voiceover often gets a bad reputation, but it's not a problem when used well. In this case, it helps set up the story quickly.
That will keep demons and Hima from our world forever.
The key is not to overdo it, because too much can get distracting.
Yes, Celine.
14. And speaking of voiceover, originally Chris Applehands wanted the Derpy Tiger and the Magpie to be the narrators of the film and have them explain some details of the culture, but Maggie Keg rejected that idea. She thought it would be too distracting and she didn't want any shortcut when it came to explaining Korean culture. 15. The intro references different eras of Korean music, with the first dancers inspired by traditional Korean mudang, while the last ones are referencing the 90s and early 2000s K-pop era. 16. The movie cleverly introduces our protagonists through their fans' eyes. Even before we actually meet the girls, we know they're loved, admired, and important. This does two things. It gives us quick context about who they are and their role in the group, and it sets up expectations that keep us hooked. 17. But in animation, it's not enough to just say it. We need to show it. That's why the film opens with a full concert, immediately proving just how massive Huntrix is. They're the biggest K-pop band in the world, right at the peak of their career. By now, we can't wait to actually meet them.
I think from the start, Maggie had a really clear sense that she didn't want this to be an origin story movie where you watch these young girls as trainees and see all of their early days and the forming. She wanted to meet them in their prime and have it be a story about something that's unfolding, maybe when they feel like they're at the peak of their career already. As soon as she said that, I was like, that's really interesting. That's kind of what I would rather see than training. And we actually boarded a lot of that, I guess you could call it like origin story stuff. And the movie just kept kind of rejecting it. Like we'd cut it in, as Maggie said, in editorial. You'd watch it and you'd want to be interested by it, but it was like, God, this is not what this movie needs right now.
18. We finally meet our main trio, Huntrix. According to Maggie, Rumi and Mira are about 23-24 years old, while Zoe is 22-23, making her the maknae, which is what you call the youngest member of a group.
She's the cutest maknae.
19. It's fitting that Zoe comes from Burbank, California, home of many Hollywood animation studios such as Warner, Disney, Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, and many others. You know, because she's an animated character. 20. Maggie wanted to capture everything she longed to see in a female character on screen, especially in those superhero movies. She envisioned them as funny and silly, but also cool and aspirational.
We get a lot of comparisons to Powerpuff Girls, and I think when you have three characters, you kind of dissect it that way, these three kind of like archetypes.
That's my girls!
We just tried our best to create differences in them that were different from other trios, but it is actually, you know, we take it as a compliment that people compare them to famous trios.
21. The look and style of Huntrix isn't based on a single idol or group. Instead, the designs draw inspiration from many artists like Blackpink, ITZY, aespa, and many more. Yes, Maggie did mention that Rumi was inspired by Jennie, but what she really meant was that Jennie was just one of the many influences that shaped Rumi's character. 22. Rumi was originally created 9 years before the movie even came out for a completely different project, and when Maggie began developing K-pop Demon Hunters, she brought Rumi into this new story. 23. Each of the girls was designed to stand out from the other, not just in the way they look, but also in the way they move. Each is animated differently. Rumi is classy, Mira is elegant but strong, and Zoe is bubbly and has the most exaggerated expressions, inspired by the chibi style.
We thought about the other two as like, how's everybody's voice pretty different? And for Mira, we always had the kind of Diaz from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, who was, you know, very kind of monotone, a little deeper voice, or like Parks and Rec, Aubrey Plaza character. But we wanted to always like subvert the obvious in our movie. So they do it in those shows too, where that character is, she's the most emotional, she's the most insightful, she's very deep, she's very perceptive.
Look, I'm kind of a difficult person. Overly blunt, short-fused, highly aggressive.
And so we wanted to kind of balance off Rumi with somebody who was a little bit harder on the outside. And Zoe, we just wanted kind of lightning in a bottle, very bright, fizzy, but also deep when she needs to be.
But with the two of you, they mean something. I mean something.
24. Where do the girls' weapons come from? Well, if you look closely, you'll notice they come from the Honmun itself. The effects of their attacks also reflects this. 25. Actually, what is the Honmun? While many things in this film are inspired by Korean culture, the Honmun is not one of them. It was created specifically for the film.
It just became a combo of like Hon, which is spirit, and Moon, which is like a door. So it's like a spirit door.
26. In this song, each girl carries a little hanging object. That is a norigai, a good luck charm that brings abundance, happiness, and/or youth. Each of the girls has their own customized norigai that reflects their personality. 27. This is a good moment to talk about the film's music. Many artists contributed to the movie's soundtrack, but the team worked closely with the Black Label, a South Korean record label known for collaborating with artists like Blackpink and 21. 28. In this movie, each musical moment functions as a plot point, making the music a core part of the narrative. Because of this, the lyrics and rhythms went through just as many revisions as the storyboards, being constantly refined to match the story. The opening track, How It's Done, sets the tone and pace for the entire film. We've actually talked about opening songs before, with director Jared Bush, and we broke down Encanto's La Familia Madrigal. If you haven't seen that video yet, check it out right after this one. 29. The opening of the film was one of the hardest pieces to write because of all the exposition that had to be delivered.
What we ended up with on a writing level that was really tricky was in the first 15 minutes of the movie, we needed to not only establish original fantasy rules, which are pretty weird, like people use music to fight demons. Like we had to get the audience to buy in on that. So we had to introduce these characters in a way that whatever their backstory is, it's entertaining and interesting enough that you want to spend the movie with them. Basically, like I want to be around these three girls for 90 minutes.
30. Gima, the main villain of our story, is a representation of interpersonal regrets and shame. The name comes from Magui, which is Korean for demon. 31. Gima's henchmen are heavily inspired by Korean dokaebi or Korean goblins, as well as by traditional Korean masks and folklore. 32. Have you noticed that when Gino makes his first appearance, the demons instantly react with fear and respect? The first reason for the demons' reaction to Gino is to show us just how dangerous he is. This is typical for introducing your antagonist in a story. But the second reason is that it's a nice parallel to how Huntrix was introduced, also through the eyes of others. 33. Kang named Gino after her father Sean and the hip-hop duo Gino Sean. 34. The filmmakers decided to reveal Gino's backstory in tiny pieces, keeping the mystery alive while avoiding a shallow one-note villain. 35. In this scene, Rumi coughs, foreshadowing her voice breaking later. 36. This couch scene was pretty crucial, actually.
One of the challenges with any main character, really, especially with Rumi, because her backstory is pretty dark, it was really hard to kind of find pockets of fun for her. And so the couch scene was one that we added in pretty late because we're about to really learn Rumi's story about her having this pattern and that she's hiding her shame. And before we got to that, we just wanted to carve out a moment where it was like she's joyful. She's a fun person to be around, and she has this like fun, silly, quirky side of her.
37. Also, and here's a fun tip, if you search K-pop Demon Hunters on Google, you'll get a fun little Easter egg on top. Check it out, it works on mobile too. 38. Rumi then decides to debut their new single, Golden. Beside breaking records in real life, here's why this song became essential to the movie.
It was right at the end when we figured out that the Golden song could be not just a plot point, like the next song the girls need to sing, but basically a biography of like a little zero to hero story, which meant that you could just get enough of a story of Mira and how she felt before when she was kind of a black sheep and an outsider, and Zoe and Rumi, all of them had their kind of vulnerable sides. So to be able to wrap that up in this pop song and get it across 15 minutes into the movie when you really do need to buy into them emotionally, I feel like I was hoping that would work, but I was totally not sure if it would.
Oh yeah, that was a total Hail Mary.
39. While most of the lyrics in the soundtrack are in English, the composers added a few keywords and phrases in Korean to maintain a K-pop essence. 40. Golden was co-written by EJ and Mark Sonnenblick and is the movie I Want song, a song that reveals a character's deepest desire and what's standing in their way. For Rumi, it reveals she's half demon and wants to seal the honeymoon to erase her patterns and finally live a normal life. When creating a character, you want to give them a goal, make that goal feel impossible, and then watch them fight to achieve it. That's what makes them compelling to watch. What's clever here is that you can gather Rumi's entire journey from just this sequence. 41. Notice that when Rumi sings, she's literally hiding her patterns. Okay, let's talk about lie, truth, and ghost. The lie is a false belief that drives your character's actions and holds them back. The truth is the lesson they must learn to be happy. The ghost is a traumatic event from their past that fuels their belief in the lie. For Rumi, her lie is you must hide your demons to be accepted. The truth is the opposite. Exposing your demons is the only way to overcome them. But what about her ghost? Well, let's put a pin on that and we'll come back later. 42. Now that you know Rumi's secret, you'll start to see a pattern of separation between Rumi and the girls. This transition isolates her behind a wall. Sometimes she'll sit alone or wear different colors. 43. Clothes are another way this movie separates Rumi. She often wears a style different from Mira and Zoe. Also, she's the only main character to cover her neck in the entire movie, covering her voice, if you will. 44. Let's look at the golden outfits. Zoe and Mira wear white outside, black inside, while Rumi's is the opposite. This not only isolates Rumi, but also symbolizes that Rumi's darkness is external, her patterns, while Zoe and Mira's struggles are hidden within. 45. We all know that Golden is really hard to sing. I tried, but that is no accident. EJ explained, I wanted the melody to reflect both Rumi's vocal prowess and her fierce determination to seal the honeymoon, so I intentionally wrote a challenging vocal line. I would add that this also serves a narrative purpose. Rumi is forcing her voice to her limit in the same way she's forcing herself to hide her true nature. It's her narrative lie in musical form. 46. Besides serving as a visual marker that distinguishes demons from humans, they also serve to track Gima's corruption like a spreading disease. 47. Celine is an interesting character. Remember we mentioned the ghost earlier? That's her. She's Rumi's ghost. She isn't a full-on villain, but she's the one reinforcing Rumi's lie that hiding her shame is the only way to be accepted. Ghosts are usually memories, but here we see an actual character embody that role, which makes it even more powerful. 48. Wow, this doctor really spells it out.
In order to heal a part, we must understand the whole.
Rumi's refusal to open up to Zoe and Mira is tearing apart their bond. And just like those fake tonics, there's no quick external fix. This is an internal struggle only Rumi can face. 49. To balance realism with cartoon gags, the team developed special software that let animators swap eye shapes and mouths instantly. This allowed smooth transitions between their polished idol looks and the over-the-top exaggerated expressions. 50. The Saja Boys, like Huntrix, were inspired by multiple K-pop groups, including Monsta X, ATEEZ, BTS, and more. 51. The background song when Gino shows up is Love Maybe by Melomans, and it was originally written for the K-drama Business Proposal. Actually, the whole moment plays out like a K-drama. 52. Speaking of Business Proposal, Its lead actor is the voice of Gino. Maggie Kang explained that Gino's design was inspired more by classic K-drama protagonists with a traditional Korean look rather than by K-pop idols. 53. One of the hardest challenges for the animators was recreating the unique lighting style of K-dramas. In the end, they shifted direction and drew inspiration from editorial lighting instead, which is more dramatic and colorful. 54. Soda Pop serves as the thematic opposite of Huntrix's music. It's catchy and fun, but ultimately shallow, while Huntrix's songs are vulnerable and honest.
It is annoyingly catchy though.
It's infectious.
55. The word Saja has multiple meanings. It literally translates to lion, hence their symbol, but it can also mean messenger or dead person. 56. In their demon forms, the Saja boys are dressed as Jeonsun Saja, the Korean Grim Reaper, visually tying them to death and darkness. It's almost on the nose. 57. According to Maggie, all the Saja boys share the same CG body, except for Abby Saja, who was made 20% bigger. 58. One of the animation rules for the Saja boys was to never show Saja Mystery's eyes. They were modeled under his hair, but were never revealed. 59. While there are no official full choreographies for the songs in K-pop Demon Hunters, fans have decided to build the rest of the choreos themselves. 60. In this shot, the Saja boys rise from a purple haze, mirroring how they rose from the earth with Gima's help. Later, they turned the entire world purple, visualizing Gima's growing influence. 61. What's with the noodle legs in this moment? K-pop Demon Hunters avoids using motion blur, which is a technique that makes fast movements appear naturally blurry, like in real life. Skipping the motion blur gives this movie a crisp comic book-like look, but it can also make action feel slower. To fix this, animators borrowed a trick from 2D animation and exaggerated the Saja boys' legs, making it seem like they're dancing faster and harder than they really are. 62. Did you know that K-pop Demon Hunters holds the record for the most costume changes in an animated movie ever? I didn't. This includes idol outfits, casual clothes, and hunter costumes for Huntrix, the Saja boys, and even secondary and a few background characters. 63. The film also features more jewel, colors, and hanging objects on its characters than most other animated films, which created an extra challenge for the animators, having to add extra gravity to some elements so they look good. Even Rumi's ponytail was a challenge. 64. Huntrix's weapons are based on real historical artifacts. Rumi's Sangjeon, or Four-Tiger Sword, comes from the Joseon dynasty and was used to purify the spirit realm and banish demons. Miro's Gokdo is a curved sword from the Goryeo period. And Zoe Shin-kal are spirit blades inspired by Korean shaman tools, often used for divination and warding off evil. 65. Since there was little reference on how Shin-kal were used, the animators took inspiration from card throwing to animate Zoe's fighting style, similar to X-Men's Gambit. 66. Here's an animation fact. Head animator Josh Beveridge and his team mostly animated on 2s, going for a bold graphic style enhanced by glamorous lighting, soft focus, and bokeh effects. 67. Many of the characters' movements were acted out by Maggie Kang herself, providing reference footage for the animators. 68. Have you noticed how the derpy tiger's eyes sometimes move out of sync? That's a direct nod to their inspiration, traditional Korean minhwa paintings from the 17th to 19th centuries. These artworks symbolize hope, prosperity, and well-being. They often featured a tiger and a magpie, the tiger mocking the aristocracy and the magpie representing common folk. 69. Maggie stated their names are Derpy and Susie, and the reason why they can travel between the human world and the demon world is because they're not demons, but Korean supernatural creatures. 70. And that statue they used to teleport is not random, it's a Naitai, hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, a lion-shaped guardian deity that protects certain spaces. The high tae is also the official symbol of Seoul's government. 71. This show scene was taken almost directly from popular variety programs like Hello Counselor. 72. If you look really closely at this wall, there's a tiny paper that says tax evasion. Not only are the Sasha boys literal demons, they're also tax evaders? 73. The takedown montage is one of my favorite sequences in the film. The lyrics say it all. The hunters are determined to take down the Sasha boys. It shows up in Act 2 right when the girls are actively fighting back, but still not strong enough to win. We've actually made a whole video on how to write a great montage, so be sure to check that out. The link is right below the like button.
74.
Takedown was covered by the movie by the real K-pop group Twice, one of the most popular K-pop girl groups in the world. They themselves chose which song to sing for the movie. 75. And this isn't Twice's first time in animation. Their song Knock Knock was featured in Spies in Disguise. 76. In the movies world, Twice's song Strategy is right below Huntrix on the music charts. Actually, if you look closely, you'll spot a few fun Twice Easter eggs sprinkled throughout the film.
Let's do this.
77. Since this movie is a love letter to K-pop, it's also a love letter to K-pop fans. You'll spot light sticks, internet trends, and even a cheeky nod to fandom shipping idols. And hey, director Maggie Kang makes a cameo here. See that username?
Let's say the fan sighting scene, it might feel like it's just a comedy scene, but there's actually an exchange with her and Gino in that scene about hatred is never going to beat Kima.
If hate could defeat Kima, I would have done it a long time ago.
78. Let's talk about Bobby. He's not just the comic relief, he represents everyday people, the ones Huntrix is fighting to protect. As the Sasha boys rise in popularity, Bobby starts feeling more and more stressed and ignored. When the girls ignore him, he feels so abandoned that he even considers turning to the Sasha boys. Now imagine hundreds of fans feeling the same way. The cracks in Huntrix are mirrored in the separation of their fans. 79. Both Maggie and Chris said their favorite Huntrix member is Mira, and it's due to how cool she is. Isn't that like revealing who your favorite kid is? And in case you care, mine is definitely Zoe. 80. Just like Rumi, Gino is also trapped by his lie. I have no soul and it's hopeless to try to find one. Gima keeps control over him by reminding him of his past mistake, his narrative ghost. But his truth is simple: I can regain my soul if I hold on to hope. This is why the bracelet Rumi gives him matters so much. It's more than just a gift. It symbolizes the hope he thought he'd lost. At first, he rejects it, but he ends up accepting it. A clear step towards hope. Here's a writing tip. When creating your own story, give secondary characters lessons to learn too. The closer their struggle connects to the protagonist's struggle, the stronger your story will be. 81. Free has got some of the most significant lyrics of the entire movie. This is the closest both Rumi and Gino come to embracing their truths this far, but they're not quite there yet. They're still thinking about escaping instead of confronting a problem. Especially Gino, who is literally being haunted by his ghost, and thus by Gima. 82. Here's a cool detail, and I had to double fact check this because I didn't believe it at first. Even though the characters are speaking English, their mouths are animated to look like they're speaking Korean. The animator studied how Korean mouth shapes differ from other languages and used that as the reference. And that's why if you pay attention, you can see that sometimes their mouths close in spots you wouldn't expect. And that's because that is what the line would actually look like in Korean.
But tomorrow, we can win this war.
83. The use of color in this movie is very clear. Huntrix is represented by blues, whites, and golds, the color of the honeymoon, whereas the Sasha boys are represented by reds, pinks, and purples, the colors of Gima. 84. Let's look at the Huntrix logo. It was designed by Celine Kame and it was inspired by the Nori guy. She also designed the light stick. 85. Look at how the Saja boys' costumes have darkened. They even have patterns in their clothing. They are shedding their nice boy mask. 86. Demon Mira and Zoe's faces are covered in red light, while Rumi's face remains lit in white. Even the light stick glow purple. Eventually, as she's exposed and her patterns spread, Rumi is consumed by red light. 87. In the reveal, Rumi's hair is disheveled, and her stance is more jumpy, almost animalistic.
One of the reasons we didn't want to do an origin story is because for Rumi, we wanted her shame to be a lived shame. So it's something that she had been carrying for a very long time. Like Chris was saying, tell the origins of that in a non-origin way. So we had to rely a lot on flashbacks, which I don't think a lot of filmmakers are like excited about, but it was kind of necessary for this type of story. We relied on visuals too, of like seeing her patterns kind of not be as prominent when she was younger, and then just seeing the growth of it. There's very subtle ways that we feel like we've kind of tracked that story, and you always have this like fear that it doesn't get picked up. People don't notice it, but it's amazing to see the audience actually see it and appreciate it and understand it.
88. I love this lighting. Gino is literally being illuminated by the cool light of Huntrix, but he's still engulfed by his patterns, still under Gima's control. I mean, the pink light of his pattern almost resembles tears.
When people are kind of invested in this character, and we're also kind of Rumi, we're kind of falling for this guy at the same time as our main character is. And then hopefully like that betrayal and that truth of his story really hits us as the viewer just as hard as it hits her, because we're so invested in him.
I left them! That's right.
That was the way that we kind of treated it, is Rumi is on this kind of setting up her story and her kind of payoff.
89. Bobby's jacket design looks like a golden honeymoon. It makes it even more heartbreaking when he picks the Saja boys' light stick as the honeymoon is breaking apart. 90. Congratulations, you made it to 90. The Saja Boys concert is in Namsan Tower, one of Seoul's most popular landmarks and a symbol of the city. The Saja Boys are symbolically taking over all of Seoul with this. 91. Breaking the Huntrix light stick allows Gima to reach Mira, the breaking of her family.
You thought you found a family? You don't deserve one. You never have.
Mira's rejection triggers Zoe to fall as well. The fear of not being enough.
You're too much and not enough. You'll never belong anywhere.
92. After Rumi's patterns are revealed, she finally gives in to Gima's hopelessness. This is her low point. In a story, the low point is an all is lost moment, where the character is at odds between what she wants and what she needs. 93. This scene is crucial. Rumi confronts her ghost, Celine, and chooses to ignore it and embrace the truth.
This is the Honmoon I'm supposed to protect. I'm glad to see it destroyed.
94. Believe it or not, I've learned this from a Catholic nun on Instagram. In the album version of Your Idol, you can hear the Dies Irae being sung right at the beginning. The Dies Irae is a Gregorian chant from the 13th century. It translates to the Day of Wrath, and it talks about the Judgment Day. It is commonly used in films to signify something terrible is about to happen. It was originally meant to be played in funerals, which makes sense because the Saja Boys, in full Grim Reaper attire, are planning their fan's funeral. 95. The lyrics of Your Idol highlight their true intentions. You wouldn't even care if I consumed you because of how much you love me. The word idol here has a double meaning: idol as a K-pop artist and idol as an object of devotion. 96. The city lights are now pink with Gima's influence, bathing everyone in its misery. And look at this guy here, his shirt even says Gima on it, though he'll switch sides later on. 97. As Rumi begins to sing, her patterns shift to blue and green. Then a blue light glows from Zoe's and Mira's chests. As the song continues, the same light spreads to the audience, shining from their hearts as well. The symbolism isn't subtle. 98. Remember how we said Golden was training Rumi's voice? Well, that pays off in what it sounds like, which perfectly matches her natural voice range and represents her acceptance of herself. 99. Fun fact, at one point, the team considered making the girl's final outfit traditional Korean hanbok, but that idea didn't make it to the screen. 100. You made it to 100, and you're a true fan. This is Gino's ultimate test. Will he give in to Gima's hopelessness or embrace Rumi's hope? In the end, he chooses the truth, sacrifices himself, and regains his soul, completing his character arc. 101. Kang and Applehands tested several endings for Gino's arc. They decided he had to sacrifice himself so that his redemption and Rumi's acceptance would resonate. Sacrifice is just one way to make your audience fall in love with the character. And yes, we also have a video breaking down 10 ways to build empathy for your characters. Check out the link below. 102. Throughout the film, the girls have been chasing the golden honeymoon, but production designer Helen Chen convinced the directors that this should not be the final form. Instead, by the end of the movie, it transforms into a rainbow honeymoon, symbolizing a flawed but authentic unity. 103. This is the first time all three girls' costume colors actually match, with Rumi leaving behind her dark black jacket, her shame. 104. Rumi's patterns are now rainbow colored as well, almost translucent but certainly visible. She's completely free from Gima's purple demonic influence.
I remember Maggie and I working on kind of punching up the first draft that we ever turned in the studio, probably 3-4 years ago. And as we were slogging through Act 2 and stuck on some stuff, and we just didn't have answers in some places, but we got to like the ending. And I remember just writing it and sending the FDX back and forth and just texting each other, being like, dude, this is good. Like, I'm feeling something. To me, that's the test of a story, is how it ends. Does it all add up to something? I think early on, this sort of beginning and the end, in a weird way, felt like they really had great potential.
105. This new honmo is so powerful that it practically turns night into day. Not literally, but it's that classic cinema way to show that darkness has been defeated. 106. The film premiered on June 20th, 2025 on Netflix. In its debut week alone, it achieved 9.2 million views and landed in Netflix's top 10 across all 93 countries. It has now become Netflix's most watched movie ever. 107. The movie's soundtrack also took off, quickly climbing the music charts. As I'm recording this, their song Golden has spent 16 consecutive weeks on the Billboard Hot 100, including 8 non-consecutive weeks at number 1, the longest reign for a K-pop associated track after BTS's Butter. Even outpacing hits from artists like Justin Bieber and Sabrina Carpenter. 108. Huntrix is the only female K-pop group to ever reach number 1 in the Billboard Hot 100 and the first female group to top the charts since Destiny's Child in 2001. That is insane, especially since they're not even a real group. 109. Sadly, the movie doesn't reveal the name of Huntrix's next comeback. Still, with the movie being the biggest success of the year, Netflix has already mentioned plans to expand the franchise in various ways, just not a live-action remake. Watch the video where we discussed that. 110. So, with the sequel almost guaranteed to happen, what would that look like?
We have so many series that feature like individual stories, but like Chris was saying, like ultimately, even a really fleshed out backstory of Mira and Zoe, they weren't completely necessary to track Rumi's story. And so we had to make the decision to pull those out. Even the story of what her parents went through, that ultimately doesn't really matter either, is how we decided, because even if it was a case where the two parents were in love and they created her, it doesn't take away her shame, which are the patterns. It doesn't mean that she can be open to her friends about her hunter friends about it. It doesn't change that fact. So it did feel unnecessary, for it to be existing in this movie, but there's a lot that can exist.
I think kind of what Maggie said, which is it took a long time to figure out what pieces of this big story fit into one chunk to make a good story that's theatrical story. And so I think we're probably wary to commit to different avenues because there are so many, but for us it'd be our own journey as storytellers to figure out if there's a chapter 2, what are the most compelling and relevant. Because we could go on forever, trust me, there's so much lore.
111. The film had a limited release in theaters, becoming the highest grossing film on its first weekend, making it Netflix's first #1 box office success. The theater sing-along release sold out immediately, and recently Netflix has signed a deal with AMC to expand its release to hundreds of theaters, even internationally. You made it! 112. Why release a streaming movie in theaters? Simple. For a film to be eligible, it has to play in a commercial theater for a set period of time. So don't be surprised if we hear a lot more about this movie when awards season rolls out. And with that, I'm finishing this video with a bet. I bet that K-pop Demon Hunters will win the next year's Oscars. Not just as an animated film, but also the best original song.
Huntrix! 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 Yay!
Yeah, it's a takedown, Wicked. So there is still time for another film to come out of nowhere like last year's Flow, but I really doubt that will happen. If I lose the bet, you can punish me and write down what you think would be a good punishment for me.
We need to make it hurt.
I'm Stan and I was wrong. I'm singing the Stan Wrong song.
So there you have it. Did you know any of these facts? Did we miss any? Let us know in the comments. And also let us know if you would like us to make more videos like this one. In this video, you heard bits and pieces of our interview with Maggie Kang and Chris Applehands. Now watch the full thing by clicking on this video. I'm Pietro, this is Write for Animation, and I'll see you next time.